Good morning, everyone, and happy Monday. Thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. Tesla stock is definitely taking the headlines today. This stock is booming right now. It's at like $952. It's breaking all-time highs. It is exploding. Some huge news came out today saying that Hertz will order 100,000 Teslas. So that's great news. The stock's popping up. And on top of that, Tesla has had a lot of strong momentum over the past couple of weeks. And even with Bitcoin running up, it's just a great thing to see. So, Tom, I know that there's no major resistance because we are at all-time highs. But, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, I thought the setup actually heading into this morning was actually a pretty good setup. We closed at highs on Friday and we really held our ground. We did not fall off towards the end of the day, even though the SPY on Friday did not have the best close. So it was really nice to see Tesla close up there at highs. And I love the way it broke out today in pre-market. It really showed its strength. And I don't know if it can keep rising today at open or not. This was a pretty big move. I'll be honest. It was about a 40-point move here in pre-market. And I feel like it might be slightly overextended just for intraday trading. But this is awesome news that they're getting 100,000 vehicle orders from Hertz. And keep in mind, who knows, Hertz might trigger a reaction. We might have other companies like Enterprise and companies like that start to look at getting more electric vehicles as well for their fleets. I'm sure that might help them, honestly, monetarily, because they won't have to worry about gasoline vehicles. They won't have to worry about all that upkeep and maintenance either.
Exactly. So, Tom, we can't forget about DWAC. I know there's a ton of hype with this one as well. It is up 15% on the day, which is good to see. Of course, this is Trump's SPAC stock from last week that just went through the roof. It still has good momentum, but it definitely took a little bit of a beating yesterday, or on Friday, I should say. And across the board, still lots of hype, which is exactly what you want. And something that's very interesting is they actually have options available.
Oh, so the options just came out today, actually.
Yeah, literally. I'm looking at the chain right now. They don't have too many expirations. The soonest one is on November 19th, so the monthly. But, Tom, these options are pretty expensive. So, let's say at the money, 108, that'll cost you, it looks like $4 or $5 grand just to buy the call or the put.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. That actually looks pretty insane, and it's definitely going to be nuts. I wonder what the implied volatility is going to be at because this stock has just been crazy. It's almost been moving like an AMC or a GameStop over the past couple of days, and I would think that implied volatility will be through the roof whenever we finally get that data. I'm not seeing the data yet. Are you seeing any implied volatility, or I'm not even seeing any volume yet on the chain?
Yeah, so not yet. Like you said, no volume, no IV, but it should load in shortly. I don't know, because it looks like the stock's halted right now, so I'm sure that's definitely playing a role. Yeah. But this one got halted so much on Friday, and it kind of killed the momentum of it.
Yeah, and I can't believe it just got halted again here at open. The stock was only moving for just 60 seconds or so. It didn't even really move too much. It must be a volume halt. We already have 1 million volume. So that's a pretty crazy thing. This is definitely going to be a crazy stock again. And I was really hoping for another nice big move to the upside, to be honest. I was not expecting a fall down, but hopefully later today we can continue to see the move back up because it's just been absolutely nuts lately. And I hope that we can just see it go up just for the sake of having something awesome to maybe day trade.
All right, so I just want to welcome everyone to the stream. Welcome Jamie, David, Mike, Vicky, Iranical, Rick, David, and Anir. Thank you guys so much for joining. The first David said, good morning. Thank you for the great videos over the weekend. Well, thanks so much for the support. Tom and I really appreciate it. But let us know what stocks you are watching today, and we will definitely take a look at them. Across the board, Tesla is definitely the main one to keep on your radar. DraftKings is looking okay, but they're really just struggling, especially over the past couple days. But Tom, I saw that you had Lucid pulled up on your chart. What's going on there?
Yeah, they are exploding up 4% this morning, and they're really breaking some nice resistances. They had a nice pop up in pre-market, kind of hit this 2450 support, and then they're flying up here at market open. It just seems like a pretty good setup for them. On the daily chart, we can see it looks like they're actually turning back to the upside pretty well. We just bounced off the 100 SMA, and I feel like if we start to break out here, above, let's just say like 25, 75 or $26, I feel like we could see a pretty significant move to the upside. Let me go on the 1 hour chart just to see that high up there. Yeah, it looks like the high is at 25.66. So if we could break out above that, that's where I feel like we could get a nice breakout from. And it just seems like a pretty nice stock to trade today, probably moving in sympathy with Tesla, which is on fire, still going up today, up 5% with Tesla. And they're already up to 958 here. They had a nice move up at open. Another one kind of following these is NIO. It seems like the EV stocks are just having a really good day in general.
Love to see it. All right, so we have Connor asking about AMD. So looking at this one, it also has good momentum. It's up like 1.2% today. Looking at their chart, to me, this one's just a coin flip because the earnings. Earnings is on, it's actually tomorrow after close. And, we know how earnings are. It's basically 50-50, and the odds are not in your favor, especially if you play options. So I'm just going to stay neutral on it.
Yeah, me too. I'll be neutral. It looks like we're getting up to that resistance, and we might fly through that and make new all-time highs. But with the earnings coming up, we might double top up here and go down off of some production problems or something like that. So just keep it on the radar. I feel like if we break out, it could be an awesome trade, but it's going to be really tough with those earnings right there. It's kind of like unfortunate that the earnings have to happen right as it looks like it's going to make this break too.
For sure. Yep, and then I know that Fastly had a pretty good week last week. It's definitely been on my radar still, but it's kind of just consolidating a little bit. What do you think about this setup?
I think it looks pretty good. It looks like it had that one red day come in there, and today is actually turning around pretty well. And if we can get just a nice support bounce here, I feel like Fastly could have a pretty nice move back. And it almost looks like not like a dead cat bounce, but it almost looks like a bullish flag. Like we just had a couple days of consolidation, and I could definitely see some more movement back to the upside, especially with earnings. Like if earnings go pretty well, that could make for a pretty explosive move. But I would think we might get a nice pre-earnings run up. Hopefully, that's what I would look for.
Here we go. All right, so looking at some other stocks today, I'm just trying to find out where the momentum is. Tesla is definitely the headlines, like I said. I know there's no major resistance, but what are some psychological levels you have for us?
I think 980 might be a pretty good one coming up, but after that, obviously $1,000 I think is going to be huge. Like 1,000 I think is going to be obviously really big. What are we up today? 60 points. I would not be surprised if we flew up another 30 points and possibly got to 1,000. They are obviously on fire. They have great news with Hertz, and they've just been having good news in general. And even Michael Burry came out and announced that his short position was just a trade. And that, I think, honestly, I think a lot of people shorting it might have gotten out right there. To be honest, this could have been a little bit of a short squeeze going on with Tesla.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. But either way, it is exploding. I agree with you 100%. 1,000 will be huge for this one. And it's almost back in its, I'm trying to think how to describe it. Last year, Tesla was exploding to the upside, obviously, and, it just became a snowball effect because it was exploding. And then, of course, it had great news, but then, a bunch of people would buy in. Where for most of this year, even though it had some good news at certain points, we just didn't see the hype that we saw last year. And I think that we're starting to slowly get that back, especially with this type of break from all-time highs, plus, all this, momentum and volume coming in. It should be pretty good. So it's up 5% on the day. Definitely keep it on your radar. And then we have Iranical asking about MU. So looking at MU, this one is also up 5% on the day. Doesn't look too bad. What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, on my chart, it dipped down. It bounced off this support around $65, which I have as a pretty long-term support down here. And it looks like a pretty good bounce off of that. Now, it might be a little early to get in. I think it's good to get in for shares or something like that right now. But as far as options go, I would wait just a little bit. Keep in mind they're in a weird sector that has been getting beaten down a little bit. But with a lot of these stocks coming up, like AMD, Nvidia, and lots of other chip stocks, I feel like that they could have a pretty good recovery here. And I've been eyeing them up for shares for a while, but just with the sector they're in and with the way that all these production problems have been hurting them, you can see they've been underperforming pretty bad compared to AMD, which has been just, around all-time highs. MU has been honestly pulling back pretty hard. So I've been really keeping my eye on them though for shares, and I feel like it will be good. But keep in mind, I feel like that they're not just going to go just straight up here, like just straight up to $80. I feel like there's going to be some more up and down movement, especially as they get up towards this 75 resistance.
Alrighty, so looking at some other stocks, MU of course is looking good, but we can't forget about Pinterest and how they are down 15% today. So I know that they were exploding last week on a potential acquisition by PayPal, and that deal is not going to go through. PayPal basically said, "Yeah, we don't want to buy Pinterest anymore." And in turn, PayPal stock popped up, and Pinterest stock tanked down, which is the exact opposite of what we saw last week. Of course, when PayPal announced that they were thinking about buying Pinterest, Pinterest stock popped up and PayPal fell, but now it's the opposite. So what I think is very interesting is Pinterest is actually below the price it was like before like this deal even like was rumored or anything like that. So either way, the play can be like selling puts on Pinterest, but I think the ideal play would just be like playing PayPal, whether it be like a short-term momentum play or even if you wanted to scoop it up for the long term.
Yeah, I think PayPal will probably be the way to go here. And even if they fall down a little bit lower over the next like couple months or something, I feel like they're pretty good. And keep in mind that this big drop that they've been having lately is all on this Pinterest acquisition news. So hopefully we see a nice pop back up. And, so far this morning with them, at least with this news, they got a pretty nice pop back. So hopefully they can get a nice full recovery back. Kind of like what we saw with Pinterest. You said Pinterest kind of fell all the way down back through the level that before the rumor even came out. And PayPal, unfortunately, isn't recovering up to where, to the level like where the rumor came out. So hopefully PayPal gets a nice pop back up, but it's going to be pretty hard, I think.
All right. We have Connor saying BABA falling with the question mark. So yes, BABA is down 1.6% today.
Wow.
Obviously it's a decent amount. It's nothing like crazy. But I'm seeing news that came out a couple hours ago saying that their stock price target was cut to $230, and it was previously at $260. So obviously it's not the best, like when you have price target cuts like this, but at the same time, this news came out before the market even opened, and the stock was kind of holding its ground, so I don't really think it was because of that. It looks like just people are locking in some profits right around open.
Yeah, and to be honest, there is a pretty good resistance here, like right around $180. We definitely touched that back on like July 27th, and then again we touched it on like September 3rd. So, like you said, maybe it's just people taking profits here at resistance, and we have been going pretty much straight up with BABA ever since 140. So we might just see a couple days of pullback here.
Yep. All right, we have Sean saying, there goes Snap. So I was just looking at that one. They are kind of breaking down, which is unfortunate or fortunate depending on what your trade is. But honestly, I hope it keeps falling a little bit because I'd love to sell some more puts on it.
Yeah, me too. I honestly hope that it goes down a little bit more. I know that lots of people were looking at buying it right away on the dip, and I feel like it might go down a little bit more. I see some pretty big supports coming up around $50 even, obviously, is going to be huge. We just broke below 55. So hopefully we can get back down towards 50 now. I think that'll be an awesome level to scoop up shares at or sell puts at. And, there's just lots of big levels coming up with Snapchat. And I really hope that they can get back up because, that was a pretty bad drop they had. Like, unfortunately, like I know Facebook and lots of other companies took a hit too, but man, they were down like 25% there in after hours. That was just such a crazy drop.
Yeah, it's huge. And like, it's not like we're talking about some small company. Like Snapchat is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So it's definitely a big hit. And, it should bring a pretty good opportunity for, those who wouldn't mind holding shares to like enter some shares or sell some puts or maybe even some leaps.
Yeah, definitely. Like it should be pretty good for the longer term. And, like those ad companies and stuff aren't just going to quit like advertising on there either. Like we know that, it should end up growing in the longer term, especially as, technology gets even more integrated. I know it's already pretty integrated, but, we should see some pretty nice stuff over the longer term. And, who knows? I've heard lots of cool stuff lately about lots of different like technologies, like with the cameras and stuff, and integrating lots of different of these like maybe not like those futuristic headsets, Mike, but like almost like augmented reality, like glasses and different stuff like that. So there's lots of cool stuff coming out in the future.
Yeah, no doubt. While we have like Tesla exploding up and stuff like that, the market's taking a bit of a hit right now. I don't know if you saw that, but the SPY was looking good in pre-market, but definitely a lot of people are locking in profits right now. SPY's looking not the best, and Apple is a pretty similar pattern. I just thought that was interesting because we have stocks like Tesla, going through the roof, and then the SPY's definitely struggling.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate to see. It's weird to see too, like you said, because there's lots of stocks that are in the green by quite a bit. There's a few stocks red, but for the most part, my watch list anyways is mostly green. So I don't know. I would think the SPY would do pretty well here. I know that one other sector that was doing pretty decent this morning was crude oil. We got all the way up to 85 a barrel, and now it's kind of crashing back down. So I don't know. It looks like it's kind of following the S&P 500 back. I don't know if that's maybe affecting the market at all here, but I really think that it looked like there was a nice double top up here around like 454.30 it looks like, but either way, it's not looking too good today. We might see a nice breakout later on, but for right now, it seems like the SPY just doesn't have the momentum.
Interesting. All right, another one that's kind of breaking out is XPEV. This one is up almost 6% on the day, and I know that, it's definitely looking decent. Like, it just broke above that $45 resistance, and of course, it's coming off of the news where, they revealed about, like, their flying car. Remember that, Tom?
Yeah, they actually had some news with a flying car, and then they had some news where they were coming out with some autopilot to like compete with Tesla. So sounds like they're making some pretty big moves here with XPeng. And I really hope that they can end up going up for the longer term. Seems like a pretty good company. I feel like they could end up being pretty good. Like Lucid, I think could end up being pretty good. But some of them like that I feel like might not be as good, might be like Workhorse. Unfortunately, you can just tell by their charts, they're just not looking quite as good as some of the other ones. But man, XPEV is just on fire, Mike. Like, I know they had that news with the flying cars, and I'll have to find the article with that and pull it up because the picture was definitely pretty cool. And then they had that autopilot news, and who knows, maybe that autopilot news is even bigger than the flying car news.
There we go. So how is Tesla looking? We got to check back in with it. I know it's still up 5%, but how's it looking intraday?
Yeah, they're actually looking pretty decent. They're pulling back a little bit right here, but if we go back to the 1 minute chart, you can see we had a pretty big pullback, and then now we're kind of coming back up. So I hope that we can just continue to at least go up or at least hold our ground at the very minimum. $950 seems like it's going to hold up as a pretty big intraday support, anywhere from like 946 to 950. So hopefully Tesla gets a nice boost back. And, they've already had a pretty big move up today. So I'm not expecting them to be a huge like 10% runner or anything like that. So maybe expect them to consolidate for a little bit, but I really hope the momentum comes back.
Love to see it. So like we basically covered all of the stocks with the most momentum today. Tesla being the top one. Of course, we have Pinterest and XPEV, but besides that, like what are like certain like day trade setups you're looking at or swing trade setups? Like what are some of your favorite stocks right now, Tom?
Some of them that I've really been looking at lately have been these oil stocks. And, I haven't been looking at them for the longer term, but just for shorter term trades. And, I was looking at CVX pretty hard. They're starting to break out above this resistance. We had crude oil with a big move. So hopefully they can get a move up. I know earnings is coming out. Maybe these high oil prices and gas prices will help some of these companies in the short term. Hopefully, I don't know, either way though, looks like they have a lot of momentum in the short term. I'm really eyeing up though, these stocks still like PLUG, CHPT, they're honestly turning around today pretty well. And, I know they're not up too much, like only 1.5%, but they had a pretty big move up compared to the closing price on Friday anyways. And I love the way they had this pre-market kind of run up here. And I feel like that these stocks like Plug, CHPT, stocks like that, looks like they have some pretty good momentum coming back today. I know they've been going up for the past couple of weeks, and I think that they still might have the momentum.
There we go. So back on DWAC, it looks like we finally got some numbers in. We do have some volume on the chart, and the IV is at like 265%, which is huge. So we can just tell by looking at the options chain for November. An at the money call will cost you around like a little over $3,000, and at the money put will cost you just under $4,000. So lots of it's pretty expensive. Again, those options do have a little bit of time though, but with IV this high, I mean, I don't think it's worth it. I feel like it's just best to like either do like an iron condor or maybe like something that profits off of time decay.
Yeah, look at this. That implied volatility is insane. Like I thought it was going to come in high, but I didn't think we'd be this high. But I guess, when the stock goes up, what was it up the other day, Mike? 400% or something?
Yeah.
I guess this is what you get.
Exactly. Like I'm looking at like even doing like a potential call credit spreads. Like if I sold like the 105 call and then I bought the 110 call, you see the problem is like it's not even a good deal. So like I would only get $130 credit for doing that, and so I would literally risk $370 just to make $130, and it's just like, like I'm not gonna do that type of risk. Like I'm not gonna risk $370 to make $130 when the stock probably has like a 50% chance of like actually like still exploding up or at least holding like 105. So I don't know. I just feel like with the way the options chain is right now, I just feel like there's not like a great way to play this one.
Yeah, I don't either. It's a really hard one to trade. And I would say with how much it moves, just trade the shares. Like look at how much this moves. It's already up 8% today. We had a huge move on Friday, like 100%, 400% or something like that. Like I feel like that there could be some pretty good opportunities for just shares alone. So, I know the options are always really tempting and they just came on the market. But with the implied volatility being like this, just trade the shares. Whenever an implied volatility is at 260%, it usually shows that the shares are probably more worth it anyways, because it shows how much they're moving. And, like if we get a nice bounce here from $100, like let's just say we even back up to 120, like that would be an awesome 20% jump here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Tom, we can't forget about UPST. This one is not going down without a fight. It is up 3% on the day. It's holding that 350 support. It's still pretty close to that all-time high, right around 400 or so. But, like I said, it's not going down without a fight.
It's not. It looks like that support is definitely holding up, and I feel like we could get a little bit of a pop back up here. I mean, that support definitely looks pretty good, and so far on the recovery, it looks pretty decent. I think that the next couple of days are going to be a pretty big deal. I see a pretty big resistance around 360 and then 370. If we could get back above there, I feel like we could get another move back towards 400. But I feel like that those resistances might end up holding up here over the next few days. We'll have to see. But, Micah, once again, we thought UPST might finally, get that big move to the downside. And it looks like they might get another recovery here this week.
Yeah, it's crazy. The market's kind of mixed today. There isn't like any great momentum in either direction, with the exception of a couple stocks like Tesla and Pinterest and stuff like that. But we have Spacely saying top of the morning, CHPT is charging up. So yeah, I mean, it's looking pretty good, up over 2% on the day. The daily's not looking too bad. Spacely says Tesla is going for 1,000. It's definitely on pace for it, when you have let's say a 5% update, it's definitely looking good. We have Mike saying trade DWAC warrants. That's another possibility if you wanted to do that. And then Vicky's asking for levels on Facebook. So Tom, what levels do you have for us on Facebook?
Yeah, that low the other day, whenever they had that big drop with Snapchat around $315, I feel like that's going to be a pretty big support along with 320. So I would have like a $5 support, like you could almost say just like range right here. It's going to be really hard to tell. We hit 315, but we're also bouncing a lot off of 320. So I would definitely throw both of those on. It looks like resistance today is definitely here right around 325.50, but it looks like we're breaking that right now. And I would say the next resistance after that's going to be 330. But keep in mind, this is all coming off of that Snapchat movement, which it was pretty crazy and pretty volatile. So some of these might not hold up too well. I would say the bigger resistance in the over the next few days is going to be $340 or 338. Somewhere up here, I think is going to be more of a good level to look at. But keep in mind Facebook has earnings coming up, and then we've seen a lot of other stocks like Snapchat lately fall on their earnings, so we might see Facebook go down. Personally, I think it's at a good level for shares for the long term, but with all this stuff like DWAC coming out, all these whistleblowers and stuff, I'd be really careful with it. And I even saw some bad news this morning where like some whistleblower stuff got leaked, but at least their stocks, holding its ground pretty well. I don't know, it's really mixed, but those are my main levels. I would say 340 is a good resistance, and 320 and 315 is being a good support.
Sounds good. All right, so good to see that. I'm just looking across the board right now. Tom, I know with oil like popping up and stuff like that, certain stocks are looking pretty good. OXY is breaking out. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, it actually looks really good. OXY is up 4.2%. They're having a very explosive move. Another one that loves to go up with oil is GUSH, up 5.6%. I think that these two are probably the best ones to play. The companies like CVX and XOM, they can be good, but these other ones seem to run a lot more. And I love how Oxy is just having that explosive recovery. Looks like on the daily, they're really starting to break these resistances. And I'll be honest, I feel like that Oxy, Mike, is moving the way that a lot of people wanted the airlines to move. Unfortunately, we're seeing the airlines kind of consolidate down here around support, but a lot of these oil stocks are actually pushing up through their resistance levels. And I think it just has to do with the oil being high right now. And then also these companies like OPEC and Russia, they've honestly been like kind of manufacturing these prices. So it's been a pretty cool thing to see, at least for the oil companies. Obviously it sucks because every time I get gas, I have to pay $70 for to fill up my car now. But besides that, it's not too bad of a play. And, like my economics teacher said, never complain about the gas prices because you should just own some oil companies.
Here we go. All right. So, yeah, it is breaking out. They do have earnings soon, like you said. So, good stuff there. Another stock that was kind of on my radar was Zoom. Last week we saw what looked like to be the beginning stages of Zoom's recovery back up. I know they've been struggling a lot, off of that 250 level, but when they started falling off of earnings, they actually reported good earnings. It was just a rough outlook. And personally, I still like the company. Of course, no one knows the bottom, but I feel like the world has fundamentally changed over the past 2 years, and I feel like Zoom is at a pretty good spot for that change.
Yeah, definitely. And we're seeing lots of stocks start to recover up off these lower levels. And I feel like Zoom is one of them. They're bouncing off support pretty well. There is going to be a pretty big level coming up at that $300 resistance. But I feel like if we break that, it could be an amazing move for the longer term. And I know you're talking for the longer term, Mike, but I would definitely be grabbing shares and stuff right here.
Yep. Or at least some short put options or something like that. So yeah, good stuff. What are your thoughts? Because I'm looking through a couple different stocks right now. Do you have any major news or anything you were looking at?
I finally got that article from XPeng, and we can see that I got the picture of the flying car here, and it looks pretty interesting. I don't know about you guys, but the stock here, I'll pull up the chart again, XPEV. They're having a pretty explosive move up today. They had some pretty good news come out yesterday as well. I pulled up here, they had, it says that they tout their flying car, and then they also had some stuff where they were coming out with some autopilot to compete with Tesla, which is going to be pretty cool. They're calling it X-Pilot 4.0. So it sounds pretty cool. It's their latest version of their advanced driver system. They had a big event, like a tech day, almost like how Tesla had a battery day a while ago. So seems pretty good. And, they're talking about these flying cars and stuff like this. And, obviously this probably won't happen, at least on the mass market, but either way, it looks like a pretty cool picture. And hey, their company is up 5% today. So it seems like they're having some pretty good momentum off that news anyways.
There we go. We can't forget about Palantir. It's coming back from the dead. It's up 2%.
Man, I'm really glad for this one.
Yeah, I know. It's up 2%. It's not looking bad, but Tom, I think we know how this normally ends. Palantir will look good in the first hour or so, and then normally it fades off. So let's just hope it can hold its ground.
Yeah, definitely. If we can break out above $25 and then if 25 could act as a good support, that would work out very well, I think. And, they've been consolidating here for a long time. And I'm just really hoping to see a nice breakout eventually. I'm hoping for a nice move back towards that $30 resistance, but I'd love to see it break 30 over the next couple months. That would just make my day.
There we go. So hopefully the China stocks are definitely struggling a little bit today, but it's not like they're crashing, of course, BABA being down 1.5% isn't good, but at the end of the day, when you just went from 138 up to 180, you kind of got to expect a little pullback. So definitely keep that on your radar. One of them that I was really looking at was PDD. They had a lot of great movement on Friday, but I don't know, they kind of pulled back a little bit. I don't know, if you look at PDD, it's just like they just couldn't hold their ground.
Yeah, they couldn't, unfortunately. And it was a pretty bad thing. They had that huge run up, though. And it was just unfortunate to see the pullback. But it kind of looks like they're trying to come up now, Mike. And I don't know, look at this on the daily chart. Like, they've been consolidating here for a long time. And I feel like they might finally be on, the brink of having a nice breakout. Like, they might end up going down for the next couple of days. But I feel like within the next month or two, I feel like they'll get a nice move off of this $100 level.
Yeah, I can see it for sure. They definitely have a lot of potential to pop back up. So I can definitely see it. I'm just trying to see some big news or big movers right now. We covered all of the main ones. I saw that Square was looking pretty good. But again, I just it's good, but I just don't love the setup. So I don't know if you see anything that I might be missing or anything like that.
I'm actually with you. Personally, I feel like the daily setup isn't too good here with Square. It honestly reminds me of a PayPal setup. They just failed to get that big breakout. They're just not breaking out too good. And if they start to turn over, kind of like PayPal's turning over here, I know PayPal had some bad news, but I know that if they start to turn over, though, that's not going to be good for Square either. And, they're both kind of monetary systems. And I know they both, they're not exactly the same, but they're kind of in the same sector. And hopefully, Square can get up there, but I'm with you. It's not my favorite setup. They've honestly failed to break out above $280 3 times. So they've had a pretty big triple top up here.
Gotcha. Interesting. So I am looking at a couple different stocks. What are your thoughts on ATVI right now?
ATVI, this one's actually really interesting. I'll tell you what, the new Call of Duty is coming out pretty soon, and this thing is getting some momentum into it. And they've been having a lot of dips to the downside lately, but I know that whenever these new games come out, these companies do pretty well, especially in the beginning, because, everyone, it's not just them buying the games, nowadays they start buying these skins and they buy these packs in the game. And, I know some people that spend thousands and thousands of dollars on these extra in-game items and stuff. And, I just know that these new games are very good. Activision, obviously, Call of Duty, almost everybody's heard of it. Even if you don't like video games, I feel like you've heard of Call of Duty. So it's a pretty big one. And it's definitely coming out soon. And whenever it drops, it's going to drop, honestly, right around their earnings, I think. So definitely be on the lookout. I think it's going to definitely affect their stock. And it sucks that this has to happen right around earnings, because it's going to make it pretty hard to trade the options. But I feel like this company could do pretty well with that game coming out. But, you never know. The launch could happen and the numbers could be bad. So always keep that in mind. But generally, it does pretty good.
Awesome. I'm pretty sure we talked about this one last week, but oh yeah, look at Vicky just brought it up too. So I was going to talk about Chewy, and then Vicky said thoughts and levels on Chewy for a day trade, please. So I think it looks pretty good, on the daily chart for a swing. What are your thoughts about it for a day trade, Tom?
For a day trade, let's go look at it. I think it's right around resistance. Yeah, it's actually right around this $67 resistance. I love the way it's moving off these SMAs and it's moving up. I would say if it breaks out above 67, it could be pretty good. But keep in mind, sometimes we'll see a breakout and it'll only go up 50 cents or something. So just keep in mind, you're playing a breakout, but it's not it's not like Chewy's going to run 20% or 10% or anything like that today. If they break out, maybe expect a dollar move or something like that. I'm not going to expect anything crazy though. So I like it. I love it how it's at this resistance, but keep in mind, it might not be the biggest mover, but I definitely like it. But I really like it on the daily chart for more of a swing. I feel like if you could get into an option here And if it starts to have a nice move up towards the 75 resistance, if you could just hold it for like a couple weeks, and if you get a good expiration, I feel like it could have a pretty nice recovery.
Yep. All right. So I think the best way to go is just like, grab some shares and hold. Like I feel like they're a pretty solid company and they definitely have growth potential. And, if you could grab them at, let's say, $67 or whatever, and their all-time high being 120, I feel like it's a pretty good setup. So for me, it's just more of like a longer-term play, but it definitely does have potential for the short term as well. So good, great call out, Vicky. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it, Tom. Most stocks that have momentum we covered. I saw that Tesla is coming down a little bit right now. They're actually below their opening price, which I thought was interesting. It looks like we're definitely seeing some profit taking right now.
Yeah, definitely. We got kind of close to that $1,000 area. We got $30 away, and it's definitely going to be an interesting day. I'm curious to see if they continue to fall or if we'll hold support and get back up there. It's definitely going to be really interesting to tell. Looks like they're about to break that like low of their low of day so far. Not the low of pre-market, but the low ever since open. They've been bouncing off of this like 945 support like all morning long. So hopefully we get another bounce up, but it's not looking good. We did have that huge move up in pre-market though from 910 all the way up to 950. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we pulled back to like 930 or something like that. It's going to be a tough day for them. They already had a huge move. So I don't know. I feel like they could end up running, but it would be hard for them to go up like 10%.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, so another thing I wanted to point out, Tom, is I know that we were messing around with Plug last week, and this one's it's just not going down without a fight. It's definitely holding its ground. Plug is up 2.6% on the day. And I'll tell you, like, it's definitely holding its ground, and we're getting relatively close to breaking out right above that, like, $35 level.
Yeah, we are actually. And I'll tell you what, this setup looks pretty strong. And we've been seeing lots of setups like this a lot lately. And, one of them that comes to mind is like AFRM. Like you can see once they got bullish, you can tell they just had these gaps and then they would consolidate and then start to gap up. And they're actually moving pretty good today either way too. But Plug is just starting to remind me of them in the beginning phase. We had this gap up. We're consolidating. I feel like all that we need now is to break that 35 resistance and we could be golden. Like there's definitely another resistance around 40, but I love the way this is setting up. And I know that there's been some pretty big moves here lately off this support. So I really like it. And I've been eyeing up some options on it a lot lately too. I know that we played it a while ago, Mike, like a week or two ago. And I know it's setting up pretty well again.
Awesome. So another one that I saw was Airbnb. That one is kind of breaking out. They're up 2%, but they still do definitely have some chop ahead. You can say right around, what would you say, like 177, 176?
Yeah, it looks like right around like that 177 area is a pretty big resistance. You could also maybe say like 180, but it was definitely like 177 here. I like it though. I think it looks pretty good how it's recovering up today. They have earnings coming out pretty soon, and they are kind of like in that hotel sector / airline sector, and I'd really hope to see them get a pop. But I know Airbnb, they've been moving pretty slow lately, so I feel like I thought, oh my God, I can't talk. I feel like though they could be good just to grab shares for the long term. I feel like that episode of Billy Madison where they're like today, Junior.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I know what you mean about them being like in like the travel / I guess you would say vacation sector. Honestly, like I was really looking at them when they were, I guess you could say at like 130 or 140, and they kept trying to break above 155, I want to say. And it just took them like a couple months, but they eventually did break out. This one, like, I'm considering getting like a long-term play in it, but I haven't pulled it. I have not pulled a trigger, you can say. Ideally, what I would like is if we do have like a nice dip, I'd probably just sell some puts on it. And, if I get assigned, I get assigned. And if not, then it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of feel that too. And I like it, but I'm with you. I would like to get it a little bit lower. So selling those puts could definitely be a good way to go. And one stock I just wanted to look at really quick, Mike, is actually NIO. We haven't given this one much love today, but They're doing pretty good so far. And I'll be honest, this one's setting up kind of like Plug is on the daily. I feel like it's looking pretty good. And intraday, it's actually getting up it's actually breaking out above $40 right now. So definitely look for the run. And I see a little bit of resistance coming up, but I love the way it's moving up today. And it's not pulling back like Tesla is. Tesla started to have that pullback, but NIO is continuing to run.
Yeah, it's looking good. Up 3%. It's not too far away from Tesla. Tesla's up 4.5% right now, and Neo's definitely creeping up there. While Tesla's, I don't want to. It's not crashing at all. It's just fading down a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's still exploding up. So either way, it's great to see both of them popping off. I think the EV sector will just continue to grow over the next couple years, and especially over the next decade. I mean, you look at that news from Hertz, and they're ordering 100,000 Teslas. And that's just one little piece of news. And but what are you thinking with Neo? Like, I feel like it's been consolidating a lot lately.
It has, and there's been a pretty big resistance here, right around like $40 to $41. And it looks like we might get a breakout here. If we start to see some pretty good green candles come in over the next couple of days, I think we could have a nice breakout. And I think it's a great time to sell puts. It's a great time to pick up shares. I think that for the longer term, this stock is in a very good level right now. I like it for the long term. They're in a great sector, and they do a lot in China. And keep in mind, China and electric vehicles should be pretty big. And there's so many people in China that you would think that they would do pretty decent no matter what, just given how many, billions of people there. So it should do pretty good, I think. And I love the way it's moving today. And I feel like it could start to get a nice breakout, kind of like what we're talking about with Plug. It almost looks like the same type of daily setup, just a little bit of consolidation over the past 4 days. And if we could just break out above this level, it would be so amazing.
There we go. So we have Vicky saying, hit the like, guys. So yeah, if you guys like the stream, it would help us out so much if you hit that like button. Thank you guys so much for joining and asking questions today. Vicky saying, thoughts on STNE for a swing or a leap? So I have not looked at this one in a while. It's definitely not for me. Looking at the chart, it's really, really not for me. If anything, shares would be good and short puts would be good. Leaps can be okay, but the problem is that the implied volatility it's not sky high, but it's definitely a relatively high right now at 63%. Like, plus earnings looks to be relatively soon. Like, it's just not a great play in my opinion for like a leap. If anything, shares would be ideal.
Yeah, I think shares could be a good thing. We just hit that $40 resistance though and had a pretty bad little pullback here for a couple days. So I feel like it could have a pretty good move up again. But for right now, I just don't like it either too much. I know I heard about it a lot in the past though, Mike. I know it's been a long time since I heard this one actually. Like whenever she said this, I was like, wow, I haven't heard that one in forever. But I know before 2021, I should say, like back in 2020, this stock was running pretty good. This year though, it hasn't ran near as well. Obviously, this pullback's been pretty drastic. So personally, I would stay away for now. But if we break out above $40 and then 40 acts as a good support, I think then I might play it a little bit more. But for right now, I think I'm with Mike. I would just get shares if anything.
Gotcha. Alrighty, so most of these stocks in my watch list are green. I don't know about you, but Tesla, like Neo and Palantir are definitely leading the way.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they're like Neo's up 3.2%. They're just having a really nice recovery today. I mean, look at this on the 1 minute. They're just continuing to make new highs here, running up above $40. I can't believe they broke that resistance so well. And honestly, this 1 minute candle here is pretty strong, all the way up to 40.22 now. So it's having a really nice day. And I know it's moving in sympathy with Tesla, with all the rest of them like Lucid and stuff like that. But it almost seems like they're like outperforming. Like, we saw Tesla kind of fade back. Tesla's getting their recoveries coming in though now. It looks like they're coming back up on the 1 minute with NIO. Hopefully LCID is coming back up too. And yeah, it looks like Lucid is coming back up a little bit, but definitely Tesla and NIO are starting to break out again. Very interesting moves. And I'm wondering if we'll see Tesla come back up towards 970 or not. I feel like there's a little bit of resistance here around 960, but if we break that, I could see 970, and I'm really hoping to see $1,000. Maybe not today, but hopefully over the next couple days.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be awesome. I know a lot of people have been waiting for it for a while. But we can't forget about Palantir, Tom. This one's up like 3.7%, and it's definitely running pretty well. Pretty well.
Yeah, wow, it's running more than Neo was. Like this is actually breaking out very well today, up to 25. I'm really hoping they can get towards that $30 resistance again over the next couple days. I'd love to see that. And it looks like they've just been consolidating here for a long time, Mike. Like honestly, like ever since it looks like on the chart, ever since October 1st. Like I did not realize it's even been that long, but we've honestly been sitting here for like almost a whole month now. So I'm glad to see it finally moving, and hopefully we finally get another breakout.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So, Tom, do you have like any top stocks or anything you're watching today, or anything? Because we basically covered all of the, I guess you could say, big movers from this morning.
Yeah, we did. There's lots of stocks moving today, of course, like the main ones we covered. Obviously, like crude oil is pretty interesting slash CL. There, I can't believe how high this oil market's getting, like $85 a barrel. Like I was hoping to finally see like a little bit of a pullback in the oil market, but instead I'm continuing to see like huge moves to the upside, and it's unfortunate. I feel like we're in that weird phase where like if we go look at crude oil on the max weekly chart here, like we're honestly getting in that phase. Like we'll be at $100 soon with the way we're moving. Like we just had a huge breakout up above 77 to $80. And man, like I'll be honest, like this run up is getting crazy. Like we need like Russia and OPEC to come in. We need them to start ramping up production or something. Cause man, like I know that they have a huge role in the oil markets, and it's definitely not good right now. And I know that it drives oil prices up. Like whenever, people talk about the electric vehicles and stuff like that too. So hopefully, whenever electric vehicles get implemented into society, hopefully oil's not at 150 a barrel, because it would be absolutely crazy. And I know we're kind of getting into, like macroeconomics here, but like whenever we're talking like electric vehicles coming out and stuff like that, it seems like that the only way oil companies could survive is if oil prices go up. So, maybe that's what we're seeing here.
I don't know. It's looking rough. I'm just hoping it cools down. With the way it's moving, it's just getting kind of crazy. Like you look at the chart of, whether it be Chevron, ExxonMobil, or even just crude oil in general. Like it's just not stopping.
Yeah, it's not. And these oil companies are honestly like they're not looking the best. Like Exxon and Mobil is like right at resistance. Chevron is just starting to break resistance. If oil runs up to 100 a barrel, obviously these companies will keep running up pretty strong. But like we talked about with like electric vehicles and stuff coming out, these companies might not be the best for the longer term. Like, of course, they're going to be going up while oil is really high right now and stuff. But, in the long run, like as these electric vehicles start really getting implemented, like a lot more than right now, like let's say right now it's only 5% implemented. Like once we get to like 25, 50%, I mean, you're talking some crazy numbers and some crazy changes in the oil market in general, because, you'll have almost like 25% less people buying gasoline. So that'll obviously affect these companies. And I think it's going to be interesting because right now we have companies like Chevron, right? Like this is like the gas station company. Like who knows, maybe soon CHPT will be like a gas station, like you'll have all these charging stations and charging points and stuff like that. It's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, we shall see. Spacely said, what's up with Bkkt? It's halted at like 50%. So now it's at 60%. And I saw the news is that they are rising after a partnership with MasterCard. So that's obviously pretty big. This is the first time I'm ever looking at this stock, but it looks like they're like partnering with MasterCard with a partnership for like crypto and loyalty solutions. So obviously it's a pretty big catalyst.
Yeah, I actually heard about this MasterCard news early this morning, but I did not know that Bkkt was the company they were partnering with for it. That's actually some pretty big news, and I really hope that it helps both companies. And obviously Bkkt is on fire, up 60%. It might not keep running like this, but I mean, definitely expect a good run. I mean, they had good news with one of the bigger credit card companies out there, so it seems like it should help them over the next couple of days.
Awesome. Vicky said that Saudi Arabia committed to carbon-free by 2060, so no more oil. Yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty big. I didn't see that news, but I believe you for sure. So what is that, like 40 years away? So, yeah, should be interesting. And then we have Market saying, boys, what are your thoughts on SOFI? For SOFI, I've been thinking about like slowly averaging into shares with this one. I don't like love it for like a short-term play, like whether it's the upside or the downside, but I feel like they do have some potential to grow for the long term. But with earnings coming up, like it's just it's a little risky. Like earnings have been pretty wild so far, like over the past week or two, where it's just not like a play for like the short term for me.
Yeah, me either. Like if we start to break out above $22, I think it could be pretty good, but in the short term, it would only be a very quick short-term play. It would not be like a long-term setup or a long-term play or anything like that. I did like Sophie though a while ago. Whenever it kept bouncing off support down here, like around $14, I thought it was pretty good back then. But we've kind of exhausted the move now, and I feel like there's a pretty big chance we might drop on this resistance at least for the next couple days.
All right, so Tom, do you have any last-minute stocks, options, or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
I'm still watching some of these big ones like LCID. I feel like this one has some pretty good potential here on the daily chart. Lucid and Neo, I feel like, are pretty undervalued right now. I think that they have a pretty big chance to recover up. Like we're seeing Tesla at all-time highs, and I feel like these are some of the better, like the better secondary EV companies out there. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're like, grade A, like EV companies, like guaranteed for the future or anything like that. But I feel like they're both pretty good, and they both have some pretty solid backings, at least so far. So that's pretty good to see. And I hope that they can get some pretty good moves up, especially if Tesla keeps breaking out. I'd love to see these stocks move in sympathy with that. And I just feel like they're at good spots for shares, like NIO around $40. You almost can't go wrong with it. So sounds pretty good. And I like it for today and for the long term. And a couple others I'm watching are still Enphase and Plug. These two stocks have been on fire. Enphase has been pulling back for a couple days. Same thing with Plug. They've both been kind of consolidating, and it looks like they're both getting good recoveries. And Plug is actually really recovering up. They had a pretty explosive move a few minutes ago.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. We have a lot of stocks going crazy, so definitely keep them on your radar. We have a big earnings week ahead of us, so definitely stay tuned. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and have an amazing rest of your day.